Okay, hi everyone. Always difficult doing the last presentation before lunch break because I know everyone's quite hungry. So I'll try and keep things as quick as possible. But my name's, as I say, Alex Hryniewicz. It's great to be here in Łódź. I hope I pronounced that correctly. To be honest, I'm hoping I'm pronouncing my surname correctly. I have a Polish grandfather, but as I say, over here from the UK, so it's really nice to be here. I'm here today to talk to you about a new comedy panel show broadcast on Channel 4 in the UK in about 2 weeks' time. And I'm going to, before I talk to you about that, I'm going to show you a very brief show reel which just shows you some of the other stuff that we at Maverick Television produce. It's about 2 minutes long, and it just sort of gives you a taste of some of the content that my department has been producing over the last year. So if we can have volume, please, and I'll hopefully... Sounds familiar? Shall I try again? Yeah.
Hello, I'm Simon.
Yo, check it.
We're little bits.
Hi, Reunion J.
It's Nicole Scherzinger. It's Saturdays.
Welcome to a brand new show.
I'm David Mitchell, and you have found your way to the Was It Something I Said play-along game.
Why not combine business and pleasure and turn your office into a state-of-the-art greenhouse? Carry yourself with pride.
Don't dye your hair, because when it goes pear-shaped, it's fucking horrendous.
We're flipping from a very, very deep focus to a very, very shallow depth of field.
If you'd like confidential advice about a sexual health problem, you're in the right place.
These results were discovered through in vitro testing.
My name's Violet Nordstrom.
So I'm in the very showroom, surrounded by lots of amazing clothes.
We're here in Cannes for the 66th Film Festival. Thanks so much to Renault TV for bringing us out here.
Hop into your nearest M&S store or take a look online.
Combining a live TV broadcast with integrated iPad and iPhone apps and a dynamic website, Embarrassing Bodies live from the clinic delivered a truly multi-platform viewer experience.
Okay, so yeah, that just gives you an example of some of the TV shows and also some of the brands that we've worked with over the past year. But what I want to talk to you today is about Was It Something I Said? So Was It Something I Said started life as a result of a conversation between Maverick and another agency called Mint Digital. They'd already created an existing website called Quotables, which was basically a place where people who loved quotes could find quotes, leave quotes, share quotes online. And at Maverick, we love quotes too. We think they're really funny. And we thought there was a TV show idea in it. So we, in our department, which is a multi-platform department, decided we were going to pitch an idea for an online-only quiz show, a panel show, where basically comedians come together and they talk about stuff and hopefully are quite funny. So we went to Channel 4 and we pitched the idea to Jodie Smith and Saida Erzali in the entertainment department, and they really, really liked it. In fact, they liked it so much they said, actually, we want to commission a TV show really straight away. We don't want to do the whole online bit first, which was fantastic from a company point of view, but a little bit disappointing from my personal point of view, because as a multi-platform producer, I was kind of hoping we'd get to do the first bit first and then get the TV show. But anyway, we got to produce a pilot, which we produced in a basement somewhere near our office with a set held together with bits of sticky tape. And from the pilot, we got a TV show commissioned, which involved a lot more of a shiny set. That. And those are our presenters. So maybe not familiar to you guys over here, but we've got David Mitchell, Mickey Flanagan and Richard Ayoade, who are three very big comedy names in the UK. So we approached the concept of separate from the show, we wanted to do a second screen experience. Now, we looked at the existing second screen experiences, and there's been some really, really successful ones. Channel 4 had a really big success with the £1 Million Drop second screen app, which has been referenced a few times earlier. Also another one called The Bank Job. But these were second screen apps for quiz shows, and we were doing something slightly different, because with a comedy panel show, you tend to want your audience to be watching all the time. Hopefully they're laughing, hopefully they're enjoying it. You don't really want to be distracting them. So what we decided to do is that we were going to base our second screen experience solely within Twitter. And the reason we did that was because already we looked at existing user behaviour around these sorts of shows in the UK, and we saw that Twitter and Facebook, to be fair, were where most of the interactions were already taking place. People were retweeting the funny lines they'd heard in the show, they were sharing content with their friends, and so we decided we'd create an experience using Twitter and powered by Twitter. And the reason we used Twitter rather than Facebook was because Twitter is totally public-facing, whereas Facebook, of course, although interestingly, it is now releasing its public feeds to try and compete with Twitter. At the time of coming up with the idea, it was still very much you only saw what your friends could see. So this next slide, it shows an example of the interface that we're using. So what we decided to do in the show, the panellists get given some questions, and they will talk about who said a funny line or a famous quote. And so what we've done is at the same time as that question goes out to the panellists, it gets sent to you if you are following the account on Twitter, and you have to simply reply with a hashtag related to the answer. So in the example here, we've got a quote on our left which was actually from Winston Churchill. And the users get three options and then they reply to it. Now, when they reply, their result is logged, or their answer is logged in a back-end system, and they are rewarded a bonus. And that bonus can take various forms. I'll show you a few examples in a sec. So what we came up against when we were doing this is, although we were using Twitter and we didn't have to create a third-party proprietary app like many second screen apps, the problem with Twitter is that it's not really designed for this sort of thing. And for example, they put a limit on the number of tweets that you can send out from a single account. And even if you're working with Twitter, like we are, and you have a verified account, you can't actually send out more than a few thousand tweets in a given period of time before they'll block you and think that you're a spammer. So we had to get around it by setting up separate accounts and also not sending rewards directly to users as we wanted to originally, because potentially, this show might be watched by 2 million people. We might get 200,000 people engaging online. That would be a good outcome from our point of view. If we have to send 200,000 bits of reward content 10 times a show, there's a good chance we'd actually break Twitter. And they actually said that to us, quite openly. They said, we're not used to doing that, and we don't want to see the big fail whale that everyone saw years gone by. So we've done things slightly differently. So what we created is, on the Channel 4 website, we created a kind of repository for all of the people's rewards that they gain by watching the show. So at the end of the show and during the ad breaks, you get tweeted a link and say, go and collect your reward now. So this is just quite a neat way of us being able to keep control of where the awards go, and also encouraging people to go to the show's website, which we hadn't, up until that point, really been concentrating much on. So while our play-along does take place entirely within Twitter, there is actually this sort of side bit where it kind of sort of goes out to the Channel 4 site. But the way that we brand it is that actually, unless you really know a lot about the web, you wouldn't necessarily realise that you'd left Twitter. So in terms of bonus content, I'm just about to play you a clip and show you some of the bonus content that we associate with that. And it's worth sort of bearing in mind that you might ask the question of why we're doing this. And there's an innovative angle, wanting to try new things and wanting to differentiate yourself from other shows in the marketplace. But also, I passionately believe that by engaging people on social media, you actually do drive up the number of people that watch the actual TV show, whether it's live on Channel 4 or whether it's on demand on things like 4OD. I think that the conversation that people pick up on in social media makes them more likely to watch your show. And we still are judged primarily, whether it's right or wrong, on how many viewers watch our show week in, week out. So that's kind of where we were coming at with this. So I'm just going to show you a brief clip, which is from a comedian called Al Murray, and it was filmed as part of our pilot show. And then I'll show you the reward content that goes with it. So sound should be all in, let's hope.
Winston Churchill, everyone can do an impression of Winston Churchill. You have to put all Winston Churchill quotes through the impression mangler. If it comes out the other end sounding like him, then it's him, right? So, an ugly baby in the National Army. And the bill is happy.
I think it's come through the Churchillometer unscathed.
Okay, so that's just a little clip. So there you've got a comedian who is trying to sort of suggest that it was Winston Churchill that said that quote, and he's put on a funny voice. So what we would tweet out at about the same time would be something like the following. So that is an iconic picture of Churchill that anyone, certainly in Britain, would be familiar with, but instead of Churchill's face, it's Al Murray, the comedian's face there. And it's got branding, something I said there, and that would come out from the Twitter account to the users who had answered that question. And the idea being that if you're watching the show, you think, and you found that funny, you would try and share that, hopefully. And the idea being that then other people who maybe are not watching the show would see that bit of content and see, what's that about? I don't get it, or that's funny. And then they would maybe follow the account at something I said, or go and have a look at the account, and that would drive viewers to the show. We'd also put just some sort of pretty standard content out on Twitter, so something like the following. It's difficult to read, but there's a quote there that says, when it was suggested that Churchill's grandson resembled him, he replied, "All babies look like me, but then I look like all babies." Which is quite true, actually, if you think about it. So that's just a pretty standard piece of content. It's just a sort of fact. And these things do really well on Twitter because people like to share them with their friends, and they like to be seen to be funny. And if they can piggyback on other people's funniness, then that can work quite well. So, piece of paper the right way around. So you can see that most of the content is actually very simple. But the real focus of the play-along experience is to add additional value where it's worth doing so. And we're very conscious of the fact that we don't want to clutter people's timelines up. People are doing other things while they're watching the show and while they're on Twitter. So we've had to walk quite a fine line. And because no one had really done this sort of thing before, other shows use social media. Some of them use it really successfully, but particularly a comedy show. We decided to do some user testing. Which, for anyone who's creating apps or other experiences and maybe sort of trying to break new ground, I would highly, highly recommend user testing as early as possible in the process, because we haven't really done it a lot in the past, but having done it once, it's amazing to actually come face to face with your audience and actually hear what they really think about your content. And they can, sometimes they say things that make you mad, and sometimes they point out some really big flaws that you never considered. So very worth doing. So this next slide, which basically shows you, it's a dial test of our first show. And basically, during the show, people watching the show, and they were saying whether they liked what they were seeing or not. And there were certain peaks and troughs, so we saw which bits of content they liked, which bits they don't. This is quite commonly used in lots of TV shows. But what's interesting about it is we then combined it with testing using our Twitter play-along experience. And what we found then was we could work out how many people started playing the experience and maybe stopped playing it after a couple of minutes because they got bored or they didn't understand how to do it, or people who conversely got really distracted by the play-along experience, and you'd watch them on a camera and they'd probably maybe look up at the TV show 2 or 3 times. throughout the whole time. They'd spend the whole rest of the time on their iPad or on their iPhone. Now, that might be a good thing if that's how they like to enjoy TV, but from us as content producers, we were like, it's a bit of a shame if we're creating an experience that is going to mean that people aren't actually going to watch our show. It kind of seems to defeat the purpose. So what was really good is that we knew from this what people found funny and what people liked to share. And we did lots and lots of testing. And from that, we worked out, roughly speaking, how many bits of content we should be sending out during the show. The show's about half an hour long, so we worked out how many questions we should be asking, how much additional content, and also how we could help users to understand how they were going to, when they were going to be next needing to get involved in the show. So one of the things that we did, and this is actually a first for certainly for Channel 4, probably for the UK, I think, but this graphic up here, you'll see in the bottom corner there's just a little thing that says Answer Now. This is just a mock-up that I did in Photoshop to demonstrate it, but every time a question is asked on the show that users can answer at home, a little sting flashes up saying answer now and at something I said. And so throughout the show, in a 30-minute show, we'll probably have about 15 calls to action for people to go to the Twitter account. And that includes also lots of stuff with the host where he talks about about sort of going and using the Twitter experience as part of his just sort of general kind of sort of, pieces to camera. So we're really giving ourselves every chance of engaging people online, but hopefully doing it in quite a subtle way where people won't be thinking, I wish they weren't constantly sticking that graphic up in the corner. So we'll see. The show hasn't gone out yet, so that might be part of the feedback we get. Next slide. So at the end of the experience, users will get a personal video, which is actually recorded by David. When I say personal, it's obviously not personal to them, but it's personal to their score that they get. So we've got about 30 of them per episode, and depending on how well you've done, which questions you've answered, which ones you got right, which ones you get wrong, you get a special video presented by David Mitchell and sent out to you. So my final sort of thing, I'm just going to show you part of that video. Sound again.
Well, that's not good, is it? Still, something Winston Churchill once said was, success is the ability to go from failure to failure without losing your enthusiasm. Which, on reflection, means Churchill was calling Hitler a success. So try and build on this failure with another one, but do keep an eye on your enthusiasm.
Cool. So, yes, so that's just a little... I didn't deliberately pick just Churchill and Hitler quotes for this. There is more to it than the show than that, but that was one of the themes of the first episode. That's about it, 'cause I'm coming up to 20 minutes. So the series starts Sunday the 6th of October on Channel 4, and we're hoping that both the TV show and the online play-along are enjoyed by our audience. And what I think is interesting is we've actually created 60 minutes worth of additional video material that will only be accessible if you join the play-along experience. You won't get all of that content as part of the play-along because it does depend, those sorts of videos, you will only get a certain number of them every time you play. But there's actually 60 extra minutes worth of material. And if you think about the series, it's 8 parts, half an hour in each. So actually what we're creating is 2 whole episodes worth of material that is only accessible by engaging in a second screen experience. And I think that that's a really sort of interesting sort of point in itself, quite a simple point to make. But I think it shows you that sort of broadcasters like Channel 4 are really sort of moving in this direction and feeling that it's worth not only doing experiences in this area, but also keeping back some of the best, because some of the content that we've got is actually really, really funny. Some of it we weren't able to broadcast for various reasons, but you get it by joining the play-along experience. So I think that shows just how sort of important the experience is. So thank you very much for listening. I think we're running late for lunch, so I won't ask for any questions now, but feel free to grab me in the lunch break if you've got any questions or anything that I've said. My details are here. I should have put up the @somethingIsaid Twitter account as well for anyone that wants to follow it, but yes, just search for @somethingIsaid on Twitter. Thank you very much.